G'day ladies and gents, Cubic Media here with some more storage tech. Previously on How to Kill a Chest Monster, I demonstrated a box storage concept where boxes filled with items would be called to the player using a smaller amount of that item. This would also keep track of the stock levels in our bulk storage slices, meaning the player could always have a perfect idea of how much of each item they have stored in the bulk. The bulk design I currently have is quite interesting because it is fully hopper locked and infinitely expandable. But what exactly is hopper locking and why is it so important? In order to answer this question, I've ducked away into a completely empty world where we can test the lag efficiency of hoppers. We start by getting our baseline. All you need to do is tick entities, and we'll get a measurement for the current MSBT with nothing in the world. And here is our baseline at about 1.26 ms. However, if I summon 21,000 hoppers into the world, like so, we can now measure that the MSBT rises dramatically to 29.917 ms. And the reason why hoppers do this is because they schedule a whole bunch of complicated operations, such as pulling items out of inventories, pushing items into inventories, and sucking in item entities from the world. In fact, I went through all of the operations that hoppers do in detail in my instant item sorting video. You can see from this flowchart the amount of operations that hoppers do are actually quite complicated. All of these operations are quite computationally expensive, meaning if you have a large amount of hoppers, they will demand a very large amount of the service performance. If, however, I were to lock all of these hoppers by summoning redstone blocks above them, if we measure the MSBT now, it has dropped all the way to 4.98 ms. This can easily be explained if we look back at our flowchart and notice that before all of these complicated operations are executed, we have the hopper checking whether it is actually enabled. This means that if we can cancel all the hopper's executions at this point, we end up using far less resources. So pretty much all of these hoppers have been converted from a state of being extremely complicated to being in a block state which is extremely dumb and simple. And of course, dumb and simple means less lag. That means that a locked hopper is about 5 times less laggy than an unlocked one. Another way we can optimize our hoppers as well is by placing inventories above them, such as composters. This doesn't entirely shut down the complicated operations of our hopper. However, what it does do is prevent the hoppers from searching for item entities, which in itself is quite an expensive operation. So if we measure these 21,000 hoppers with just composters, we can see that we get only 12.524 ms. That's still twice as good as unlocked and uncovered hoppers. And if you have a close look at this main storage from How to Kill a Chest Monster, you can see that hopper locking is used in every place that I could possibly fit it in. You will also notice that in any case that I'm unable to lock a hopper, I will at least put composters above it to reduce the lag that they produce. This is important to make the storage system as lag efficient as possible. So it is quite exciting when we come across configurations like this, which are very easy to expand and hopper lock at the same time. Wow, that was way too much information about hoppers. But fortunately, we can move on now. I want to extend the storage capacity of these box slices. You can obviously just extend this hopper lock chest layout indefinitely. However, you do need to consider how the storage system will be used and how it interacts with the player ergonomically. The current design has 540 individual storage slots where it can put boxes. It's also configured so that a single item in the interface represents 9 shulker boxes of that item. This means with a full 540 bulk slice, we will get 54 items in our interface. This is important for the ergonomics of the system, because as long as the items in the interface do not surpass 64, they will only occupy a single slot of this chest and can be easily located just by opening a single chest. If, however, we start extending the storage capacity of our bulk slices so that we can have more than a stack of items in our interface, we start needing additional chests for the player to search through in order to find the item they want. And we want to avoid this. A solution is to simply increase the amount of boxes corresponding to a single item from our interface. We could just say that any amount of shulker boxes corresponds to a single item at our interface. However, we also need to consider that the storage space in the player's inventory is limited. Let's assume that the player will only want to call as many boxes as they can actually carry. In this case, the most amount of boxes we want from a single item call is 27, or a single chest worth. This is a good amount to limit ourselves to, because even though the player has 36 slots in total, our hotbar usually has important items in it, meaning the only really usable space that we have in our inventory is these 27 slots up here. Therefore, for the ideal bulk, we want to be limiting each item call to 27 shulker boxes of that item. Combining this with the fact that we want to limit the amount of items in our interface to only a stack per item type, we obtain a bulk slice capable of storing 1,728 shulker boxes of each item type. With full boxes of 64 stackables, that's about 3 million items per slice. Multiplying that by the fact that we have 108 slices in total in our bulk system, this gives us a storage capacity of about 300 million, which is about 3 times the storage capacity of our old bulk system. And this makes perfect sense, because all we've really done is multiplied the amount of boxes stored by 3. So that was a pretty long introduction just now. But all this is very important because we've been establishing the criteria for a new bulk system. I've already explained why we want to lock as many hoppers as possible. I've also explained why we want to limit the amount of boxes that we store. Our final parameter is to make a compact and working system. With this in mind, it's pretty clear why this system, even though it works and stores the required amount of boxes, is simply not suitable for that last parameter. So what I'm going to do for you right now is design the ultimate bulk. To start with, we want a bulk silo layout that is compact and expandable. This fits our criteria perfectly, because it is also very easy to hopper lock, like so. We can then add on the hopper locking controller, which detects when there are boxes incoming and unlocks the system so that boxes can flow all the way to the bottom before it then automatically locks the system again. And depending on the size of the bulk silos, we can simply adjust the timing of this long delay hopper clock by increasing the amount of items in this hopper. Now we need to find the ideal dimensions for the bulk silo in order to ensure that we have the correct amount of slots. This is where a bit of maths can help us out enormously. Here I've just defined 2 degrees of freedom, X and Y, in which we're going to scale our bulk modules. So in the X, we just have the red area, which is 2 hoppers at the bottom here, 1 hopper at the top here, and a barrel. In both the X and Y, we're going to have 2 hoppers, a double chest, and a barrel. We also add on this additional constant term at the end here, which includes our overflow protection at the top, as well as our item call at the bottom. And this includes 2 droppers, 2 hoppers, a double chest, and another double chest here at the top. We are not including these two hoppers because we want this double chest to be full when we reach exactly 1,728 boxes. Adding all of these up, and we obtain a formula for the total number of slots with respect to our 2 degrees of freedom. We can then consider that we want the total number of slots to be exactly equal to 1,728. And so we end up with a formula relating both x and y within a requirement. We can then plot this formula and find a combination of x and y which best suits our situation, which should be this one right here. As you can see, with y exactly equal to 4, we get x almost exactly equal to 4 as well. The result is that we obtain this configuration for our bulk silo, which stores exactly 1,755 boxes before this double chest here is full. Now, this just happens to be exactly 27 more boxes than 1,728. So all we need to do is remove exactly 27 slots, like so, and now it's storing exactly 1,728 boxes. With some finishing touches, we now have the bulk silo with only 3 unlocked hoppers per slice. As you can see, I put in the boxes, the entire silo unlocked, and we should see all 9 of our boxes appear here at the bottom. Next up, I've just added on the item delivery system. So this is an activate from anywhere instant dropper line, for which I am using one of Ilmango's super speed buds to allow it to deliver items on a 4 game tick timer. This means that we can deliver our boxes twice as fast as we could previously. So if I put a stack of items in here, you can see the items come flying out the other end at 2 times hopper speed, also known as dropper speed. So this is what it'll hopefully look like when we request our items. Man, that is so fast. At the top, we also add on our box sorting, where shortcut boxes which had the first item taken out so that we could work out what item was in the box, have that item returned to the box before the box is then put into the box silos. Now this particular box sorter is a brand new design developed by Rapscallion in response to my previous videos. It can sort boxes at 8 game ticks, which is twice as fast as the previous item sorter. It also uses this ingenious method of filtering out the items, developed by a player named Crane. It is a really cool way to avoid using signal strength item filters by simply comparing the 2 dropper lines and seeing whether the item in this dropper line was sucked up by the hopper underneath it. And if an item is sucked up by a hopper, then it will activate the slice and suck up the box. Pretty neat, eh? And connected to our box sorter, we have the overflow protection, which is of course monitoring whether this chest is full, which if it is, it will output signal strength 15, meaning it will force this box sorter to become locked. Alright, now we have the item core hooked in. What we have here is a 1 game tick dropper bolt. So it's like a piston bolt except with droppers. So the item will spend at least a game tick over all of these item filters in order to cross-reference all of the items in our storage. When our item filter detects the correct item, it will then power both of these pistons. The one on the top will send a signal up to a hopper locking controller. A one underneath will send a signal to this specialized counter, which will make sure that we send exactly 27 shulker boxes to our interface. So in order to test this, I'll just put a stack of items in, like so. I will then trigger it, and we will see exactly 27 items appear in this chest. Perfect. We also have another instant dropper line on the other side in order to transport our reference items back to the interface every time the stock level increases. So if I put a stack of items in here, it will start shooting them out at the end of this dropper line. Now all that's left is to connect up the stock counter to our box input, and this will keep track of how many boxes we have in the system. A little while later, we have our counter fully set up. In order to obtain a counter which counts to 27 and can be activated at any time with no cooldown, all I've done is taken this 3 times counter that Manga designed and staggered it 3 times in series. So obviously, the first stage counts to 3, the second stage counts to 9, and the final stage counts to 3 to the power of 3, which is 27. Once we've counted to 27, all we do is activate this trapdoor, which sends a signal via these walls all the way to the bottom, where we have our droppers filled with our reference items. All that's left to do now is tile the system up and put it all together. Alright, the block has been built up to its full glory with 108 slices in total. And man, look at that static lag. Only 3.5 MSBT. Our interface is fully hooked up with all the dropper lines running in and out. All that's left to do is to add our items. In order to configure all of our item filters and our slices, I'm going to be using Furigo and Storage Tech Aid. Here I have the magic hoppers, and I'm going to have to start with this hopper right here for our box sorters. So this hopper right here needs to be completely filled with a single item type, which is what I'm going to do right now. There we go, I placed down the hopper, and it should have automatically filled all of these hoppers with the correct items. Perfect. Now I just need the filter hopper, like so. As you can see, we have our items and dummy items already configured for us. We're going to want to do the same thing with our item core. Just like that. And all of those comparators light up, and we can see all these item filters are set up. And one last thing we want to do is stock up these droppers with our reference items. So I'm just going to use this hopper, which will just fill up the droppers with the various items. We also have these additional unused slices. So what I'm going to do is just block them off like so. And I'm just going to remove the hoppers for the unused slices at the box sorters. In order to stock up our box slices, I've got a schematic here containing chests full of shulker boxes of all the items that we want to store in this system. Now we finally have our items ready to go into our bulk. At the start here, I just have a precision clock to keep everything in order. Then I have a box filter, which will filter out any boxes which are partially filled and send them to this chest right here. This is because partially filled boxes are quite likely to not have a single item type. Boxes that are confirmed to be full will then go to the box sorter and find their way to the correct slice. All that is needed now is to remove this redstone block, and our boxes will start flowing, and we can watch the system sort all the boxes. Here we go, filtering out the boxes, placing down the boxes and taking out a single item type. Okay, it turns out there were actually 2 hopper carts hiding here. I must have accidentally pasted the schematic twice. Also, this goes to show the advantage of using Crane's system. Because if we were using a conventional signal strength based filter, this entire system would have been broken already. However, in this case, we're good to go again. Let's start it up. Make sure we're sorting boxes properly. There we go. That's what I want to see. And we can see that we are sorting our boxes. Hey, the box sorter is finished. Sort of was running for about half an hour in game, so let's take a look at what we have. Oh mama. Alright, let's see what happens if we call one of these bad boys. Here we go. 27 full boxes of sand, just like that. And let's see our input. Put the sand in here. And it should be sent back to the box slice. Let's see if our item makes its way back. Hey! Stock's risen. Something which is striking me as quite odd is the inconsistency of these counters. Because in theory I did put the same amount of every item, so I'm not sure why these counters are so erratic. My theory is that sometimes this comparator might be sending a double pulse to this rail. So I think I have an easy fix for this. By placing a piston here with an observer, it should ensure that no matter what pulse comes out of this comparator, it will only ever be counted as a single pulse by the counter. I think that's looking a lot better, especially when comparing it with the consistency in our inventories. So it's pretty obvious that the sample I used was probably a bit bad, but otherwise it seemed fairly consistent. So there we have it. 3 million of every item type right at your fingertips. Oh man, that is so fast. Thank you very much for watching, and be sure to take a gander at the world download to try the system out yourself. Next time we'll hopefully go over improving the multi-item sorter concept I introduced previously, so I'll see you then.